Veronica's always doing this, last minute coming up with grandiose ideas for video projects that leave no time for us to write it, plan it, shoot it, and most importantly, send it off to our editors so that they have enough time to get it back to us to publish on time or the time that Veronica wants to publish to our YouTube channel. So what winds up happening week and week again is I wind up either editing our videos or editing our podcast episodes. And guess what? She did it again this week. So right here in this video, you may remember from last week, Veronica did a gear review, her first gear review of 3 different Shure microphones. And to really demonstrate that, she also wanted to get a podcast episode recorded using the 3 different microphones. Of course, the production went way over schedule and the recording of that podcast episode went way over schedule. So once again, she asked me to edit that podcast episode. And I've had enough. That's it. So I've decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And in this video, I'm gonna teach Veronica a lesson in punctuality and being prepared. And I'm gonna teach you a lesson in some really cool editing techniques. And I thought I would do that by showing you 5 ways that you can ruin a podcast mix. There are a lot of effects that we don't often get to use as podcast editors, but that I actually sneak in and use all of the time with my clients. I'm really excited to show you some of my favorite effects that, while they could be very wacky and really easily ruin your podcast mix, you can also use these effects to incorporate some really cool storytelling techniques into your podcast mixes and to wow your clients. I think you'll find these 5 clever and creative ways to ruin a podcast mix very delightful. And at the very end, I'm going to invite Veronica in and actually let her review the podcast episode that I destroyed. So I finished the first draft of that edit that you wanted me to do. And we'll see if she ever asks me to edit another episode again. Hey, welcome to the Pod Sound School. I'm Studio Steve, an audio and video producer and an instructor inside of our courses. If you want to learn more about the amazing coaching programs that we offer, go to podsoundschool.com. So today I'm going to take you behind the scenes and let you preview an episode of Veronica's that I'm going to ruin with some of my favorite effects. So let's go ahead and reveal the first of the 5 ways. And this is unwanted reverb. So in today's world of podcast editing, noise reduction is all the rave. And of the noise reduction suites, you will usually always find a D-Reverb. iZotope has a really cool D-Reverb solution. And also Waves has a really cool D-Reverb plugin that they released not too long ago. Apparently the audience doesn't like it when their podcast host sounds like they're inside of a giant reverb chamber or some great and grand hall. But I thought instead of trying to reduce the reverb in this podcast mix, we could add unwanted reverb. So for this, it's probably no surprise to you if you've been watching our channel that my go-to digital audio workstation that I teach inside of our courses is Reaper. Reaper is free to download, and the free download is completely unlocked with all of the plugins that come with Reaper. You can use Reaper for free for a long period of time, and when you're ready to purchase it, it's only a one-time $60 after that. Reaper's good on Mac and PC, and there's so many other reasons I love it. If you're brand new to Reaper and you want to take a crash course and get started in Reaper, I have a free mini course. It's called Free Podcast Edit Lab. You can check it out by going to podcastingsmart.com/free edit lab. And I'll also leave the link for you in the description. It's a pretty fun mini course. You edit your own episode, and then at the very end, you submit it to us for review. So check it out. Okay, so in Reaper, there are 2 reverb effects that are really great effects. One of them is called Reverb, and the other one is called Reverbate, or I always call it Reverberate. But one of the things that I love about Reaper is that you can use plugins from third-party companies like Waves or Universal Audio. So throughout this video, I'll be showing you my favorite go-to plugins when I really want to get wacky. And the first one is a Universal Audio plugin, and it's a plate reverb. It's called the EMT 140. I love this, and maybe it's because it brings me back to the day when I actually was able to work with a real plate reverb, and it just reminds me of the sound of an actual plate reverb. If you don't know what that is, it's a giant metal plate that they suspend on like springs, and then they put it inside of a box, and they wire speakers into it, and they send the audio into this giant metal thing that vibrates. It's pretty amazing. So let's see what happens when I drench Veronica's voice in a little reverb. Of course, I had to add a little music for some dramatic effect.
Steven is usually the one who does that. So as I take you through the journey of putting that video together and coming up with the concept, and also me trying to explain the technical things about these microphones, I'm going to be switching.
Okay, are you ready to reveal the second way that you can destroy a podcast mix? And that is out of place, delay, or modulation. Delay and modulation. What a colorful and wonderful sound treat to add to your mixes. But when do you add it to your mixes? And although you're gonna see me kind of destroy this podcast episode with delay and modulation, there's actually a ton of places that it's really cool to sparse in a little delay in your podcast mixes. One place that I find myself using it all the time is in podcast episode trailers or season trailers. It's also really cool to add a little delay on one or two words to help transition bringing music in or bringing music out. You can also use it on what I call headers. I love messing with headers. An example of what I mean by a header is when the person who's speaking in the podcast may emphasize that they're entering into another section, like part 2, part number 3. I think it's really cool to throw a little delay or reverb on that right there, and then have the music come in or either kind of tail off. This is an advanced technique, but let's look at some delay units. So Reaper also comes with a really cool delay unit. It's called RIA delay, and it's definitely worth experimenting with. One of my favorite delay units is actually more than just a delay unit, and it's by Eventide. It's the Eventide H910. I love Eventide effects, and you see them used all the time in like sci-fi movies. They just have the most scary, craziest sounding effects that are very delay or time-based effects in their nature. So let's see if using the Eventide, we can make it sound like Veronica's in some crazy dance club at a rock concert or something.
So now we're recording with the SM7B. This is one of the most popular microphones among podcasters. I would dare to say is one of my favorite microphones. And in this part,
pretty interesting. Ooh. And while we're on the delay and modulation, another effect that I just have to show you is the Korg 3000 or the Korg SDD 3000. Also a universal audio effect. This one is also really great for sci-fi sounds or for weird delays. Wonderful for those like truck rally kind of old-fashioned radio commercials. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Let's use this effect with Veronica to make it sound like maybe she's inside of a horror movie.
To convey some of the technical concepts and aspects that you need to take into account when you are getting a microphone.
Okay, and now we're gonna move on to the third way that you could destroy a podcast mix, and that's by using a pitch shifter. I find myself using pitch shifters all of the time, and frankly, I don't think that pitch shifters are used enough and utilized enough in podcast episodes. In all seriousness, pitch shifters are great to use in comedy podcasts, really cool for the headers too, like point number 1. You can either reduce or lower the pitch or make the pitch of somebody's voice higher, like Alvin and the Chipmunks. In comedy shows and in other places, you really can find an appropriate use of this. It's a great way to sprinkle in a little ear candy and keep the listeners guessing. However, you need to be very careful. It can be obnoxious, annoying, and can definitely ruin a podcast mix. So let's see if we can sneak in a little pitch shifting into Veronica's episode.
Use here in our studio
the Shure SM7B, the Shure MV7, and the new Shure SM7DV.
I just
invest in good equipment from the get-go.
Now, number 4 is a really fun one, and that is unwanted ambience or sound effects. So again, this can fall into the category of noise reduction, and it's thought of in podcast mixing and podcast production that we want to try to rid our podcast mixes of any unwanted ambience, like trucks driving by, or dogs barking in the background, or cats having a fight. But there are instances where having ambience can really be an amazing storytelling technique. Think about those journalistic, highly produced podcasts where the host will actually capture audio of crowds or an environment that they're in and then play that ambient audio as part of the storytelling to really make an immersive experience and bring you in. And you don't actually have to capture your own ambient noise on location. You could download it from many places online. My go-to place to get sound effects, ambient noises, and also music has lately become artlist.io. Now, I used to go to Envato, but we began to have a lot of troubles with Envato and having our videos flagged with copyright claims. And that's definitely not something that you want to be happening to work that you do for clients. We've been using Artlist.io for dozens of videos now and haven't had one copyright claim problem. So I really can't recommend Artlist.io enough. That's a pretty good tip. Make sure that you give me a thumbs up for that one. So let's start by adding some ambience to Veronica. Maybe she can be in a shower or some type of underwater cave.
content. If you're in my office, this microphone is always there with my Sony's.
And hey, I think near the end of the episode, we might need to make it sound like she's in some pleasant park where there's birds chirping.
On Instagram, go and say hi. I'm an Instagram girl, so you can find me over there or leave a comment.
And of course, we could not leave this episode without some inappropriate sound effects sparsely mixed in to the episode.
So let's get started. But first, welcome to the whole reason why I wanted to make the video is because I wanted a good idea for me to make this video.
Okay, are you ready? Last but not least, number 5 way that you can ruin a podcast mix, AI voice replacement. There's some really cool technology out there right now with AI voices. The technology that impresses me the most right now is 11labs.io. 11 Labs is really fun, and you can actually create AI voices in one of two ways. You can actually type in what you want a whole selection of AI voices to say, or you can actually drag and drop your own audio recordings into it, and 11 Labs will fuse that actual audio recording with an AI voice. So I'm gonna try that with Veronica and a few different AI voices, and let's see how it turns out.
So now what we're going to do is that we are going to switch microphones.
And let's see how my voice sounds with the SM7B.
And as we change microphones, then I'll be sharing with you.
Okay, so I have set up a hidden camera back there behind the foliage that she can't see, and I'm going to have the webcam secretly recording. Hello? Hey! So I finished the first draft of that edit that you wanted me to do.
I don't know, I need to watch this. I trust you.
I know, well, I just wanted you to see because I'm experimenting with a different editing effect. I tried to do a really good job for you.
Oh, thank you.
Let's heavy up. Today we recorded a video for our main YouTube channel, Pod Sound School, and in that video we tested 3 microphones that we use here in our studio.
The Shure SM7B, the Shure MV7, and the new Shure SM7DV.
I just kind of wanted to take you behind the scenes of how we put together that video, and also to talk
Sounds
a little
good,
bit
right?
more view
Supposed to-
gear. That's
we
not
gotta
my
change things
forte.
a lot.
Steven is usually the one who does that. So as I take you through the journey of putting that video together and coming up with the concept, and also me trying to explain the technical things about these microphones, I'm going to be switching microphones so
talking
you
about going on
can
a
hear
journey,
the
so I wanted
difference
to
between
increase
each microphone.
the
So I'm starting here
areas
with,
that
The SM7DV,
and then I'm gonna switch to,
the SM7B.
and then finally I'm gonna use
The MV7.
We're gonna test all of those microphones best
Every-
for you.
every 15 seconds
so let's
something
get
should
started.
change.
But first, welcome to Content Jefe, this podcast, podsoundschool.com.
So now what we're going to do is that we are going to switch microphones.
And let's see how my voice sounds with the SM7B.
Share with you the behind the scenes.
If
that
after
amazing?
listening
Okay,
to
can we
this
stop
episode,
Like, what were you thinking?
What are you talking about? It's AI voices.
this, like-
There's more
that
stuff. How
you
about
may
this
need
stuff? I can...
to make the decision whether
This is
to
a
buy
joke,
this
right?
new microphone
No,
or
I
to
gotta
insert.
post it like
This
this.
is awful. This is not what I asked you to do.
You know, this is what happens if you need me to edit things. Sometimes I have to use my
Was
creative.
this you trying to make a point?
No,
I don't like it, and you better change it.
I'm gonna change. Listen,
I don't like it. It's immature and juvenile, and you're trying to prove a point.
maybe you'll think twice before you have me edit again.
Okay. You should have just said that you didn't have time to do it, not ruin the episode like that. You're fired.
Whew, so that didn't really go over as well as I was hoping. I'm not sure Veronica learned her lesson and if there's going to be problems in the working environment for a while. But I hope that you learned a really cool lesson and you got excited to get in there and start experimenting with all the fun ways that you can spice up and add flavor, add storytelling elements, and really make a more immersive experience for your audience. This is a really cool way to wow clients. And like I said, there's lots of very appropriate ways to use all of these effects that I showed you. Now, there is a must-have effect that every podcast editor needs to have, and it's called a gate. And in this video right here, I show you my favorite gate from Waves and how to use it. Again, this is a must-have tool in any editor's arsenal, especially when you're working with mixes that have 2 or more voices. You're gonna thank me, thumbs up and subscribe for this one.